Good morning. We are back with part 2 of the channel message from Goddess Persephone, one of the dark goddesses. I didn't mention this in the previous video, but a dark goddess does not mean that they are evil or anything like that. It's just the path of the night, walking the path of the shadows, learning to reclaim parts of yourself. That's a big thing as it relates to my own life journey, my ministry, and what I am seeking to help others with. To help people see divine feminine energy in a different light, and to help divine feminines, not gender specific, again, divine feminines come home to themselves, and even divine masculines to awaken their inner divine feminine, because we do have both. We are dual beings. We exist in duality. So even if you identify more with divine feminine energy, you still have your inner divine masculine energy, and vice versa. I just saw 111 on the timer. A reclamation of soul, a reclamation of truth, stepping into your power, learning to reclaim your sovereignty, learning to unearth the wild woman that is within you. And we do that typically by going through our shadows, because for that to have been stripped away from us, typically there is different traumas, levels of oppression, repression, however it is, right, that fits for you. So we are back here with part 2 of how Goddess Persephone is guiding you for this full moon in Taurus, which I know Taurus is very Venusian energy, but I don't make the rules here. I'm just the bridge. I just work here. I do what they tell me, and I keep it pushing. I don't ask too many questions. But with this Taurus full moon, we left off on there being a part of you that you are concealing, a part of you that needs to be unearthed, that has that you've had this like disillusionment around, right? That's blocking you from your financial abundance, from just your prosperity, your path, fulfillment, your soul mission, right? And that something needs to be released in order for something new to come in. And I pulled a few from the Starseed Oracle deck because I was wondering, like, getting that energy even before I started like channeling the message, right? I pulled all this prior. Slow down and breathe. Not just me, but you guys as well. It's going to be okay. You're going to get there. You're going to get through it. This is a lot of energy. This is a fixed earth sign. So this is heavy. This is kind of like it takes grit to like muddy through this and figure out what's here to stay, and what's coming up to be released, and dealing with your attachments surrounding the things that are coming up to be released and whatnot, or the things that you're being called to embrace here. First card out is your life is a canvas. Manifestation, artistry, creativity. Your life looks however it is that you want it to look, however it is that you believe that it is supposed to look, because that is the energy that you're signaling out into the universe, right? Very much Libra, scales balancing out, very much justice. And in the tarot deck, right, justice speaks to cause and effect, as within, so without, as above, so below, right? So if you want to tap into this part of yourself, there's something that you need to own, claim, decide, and realize again. That's why, and that, I think, even though this is Venusian energy, that's why this is very much coming from a dark goddess. Not that Aphrodite doesn't rule over this as well, because let's put some respect on Goddess Aphrodite's name as well, right? We don't pit goddesses against each other. But in talking, like, reclaiming sovereignty, having to go into the underworld and reclaim sovereignty, that's very much like dark goddess energy. And so it's like Goddess Aphrodite is stepping aside here for Goddess Persephone to come in and guide you through this Taurus energy, because for you specifically, whoever it is that comes across this, because it's so, it's like trying to like wade through the water sort of energy, but it's really muddy, sticky water, kind of like wading through honey or like molasses. I think molasses moves really quickly. I think it has like I think its viscosity is very different from honey. Whatever, keep going. Your life looks however it is that you want it to look, and it's time for you to see where, again, Taurus, very fixed energy, earth energy, very bullheaded, very stubborn, right? So we can get fixated on how things are, and being Venusian, very much comfort, attached to its comfort. It's what brings it comfort, pleasure, joy, even if those things are actually keeping them stagnant. At the beginning of this week, I did a collective reading for the week ahead, and I specifically said that the themes of this week were adaptability, stability, and stagnancy. And that's coming in here and now. Like, where are you mistaking stability for stagnancy, or stagnancy for stability? Right? You're stagnant here, but you're thinking that it's stability, that you're comforted, that you are comfortable, but really, no, you're stagnant. You're being called to push forward. That's why it's so important that I got this out on Martian, like I was gonna say Martian day, but like Mars day, like heavy Mars energy, and it just happens that Mars just moved into Sagittarius, right? Higher thinking, higher levels of spiritual awareness, right? Big picture, philosophical ideas, right? Zooming out, seeing the big picture. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, a very expansive energy. Shout out to my Sagittarius as a fellow Sagittarius. Your life is what you make it, but then also we have here the great severing. So yes, this is Mars energy, and Mars is like action, forward momentum, and like drive, and just like, oh. This is actually calling you to like direct that energy and soften into love. I know we hate it. And I'm not even talking about love in the romantic sense, but apparently it can be really taboo. And I don't mean to make fun of you here, but I do mean to bring levity here, like bring lightness here. It can be taboo. Like, God forbid we actually love ourselves. God forbid we pour into ourselves, right? Soften into that. That is your true nature. I did a channel message for that last week about softening into your true essence. Baby, you are soft. You are pure. You are pure light. You have a very childlike, playful, like innocent sort of essence to you. Go back and watch that video. It's probably like 3 or 4 in front of this one, maybe 5, since this is a part 2. It'll be very, very clear which message that is. Soften into love. Soften into embracing love and viewing everything through the lens of love. Example here, I'll give an example from my personal life. There's a situation in my personal life where I felt like a person wronged me. And though they wronged me, I still very much love this person, still very much in love with this person. And that's hard to grapple with, right? Because I feel so wronged. Understanding, and this is without like communication from them, right? Understanding, even if I feel wronged, they likely feel wronged too. And while I do 100%, a part of my ministry is that multiple truths can exist at once. However, there is our truths as in our realities, our perspectives, and also truth as in the essence of a thing, which is irrefutable. the truth of a matter. Again, that can get very, very dicey when you're talking about feelings and actions and different things, right? But it's still there. So it doesn't actually matter on both ends who is right, who was wrong, who's at fault, who's more at fault, whatever. It doesn't actually matter. The truth of the matter is, when I boil it down, from my perspective only, when I boil it down, I am still madly in love with this person. It doesn't matter. I cannot change that. I've tried to change it. It's not happening, right? And so it's understanding, okay, well, this is where I'm at. How do I, and this was before what I just said here. It's like, how do I move past this? I don't know if I'm able to move past everything that's happened. And it's like, well, why not? You love them. You love them. And you know that you're a very loving and forgiving and nurturing person. So why are you trying to be something that you're not? Right? Like, why are you trying to be anything other than who you are at your core? And that goes back to the Green Witch's Oracle deck, right? We talked about Moth. We spent a lot of time on Moth and Moon specifically, following your intuition, flowing, but also there being something that you are disillusioned with, right? There are illusions over certain things that you're hiding from yourself, camouflaging. Why are we doing that? Why are we for what? For what? Because if we pause and we stop, we understand that it's not serving us. We understand what we want. We understand that we don't have that thing because we're so caught up in typically like society's perceptions, right? Like what is going to be said, how people are going to respond to you for any given situation, right? Again, we talked about with the first deck, Solitary Witch's Oracle deck, with She's Moonlit Shy reversed. It is a fear of stepping into your own power, stepping into the magic of yourself, being seen in the raw, authentic expression of yourself, the fullness of yourself, and how that is going to be received based off of how you've been received in the past. Well, this is now. The past is the past. This is now. And we're creating a new future for ourselves. We're creating a more aligned future for ourselves because we have sovereignty. We have control. We are empowered, right? We are not afraid to be the rawest expression of ourselves, no matter how scary it can be. We're not afraid of that. I'm not afraid to say, and this honestly goes for any situation. Like if I'm upset about something, but at the end of the day, I understand where you're coming from. Even if I would never do what you did, and I mean never, still working on releasing it, right? Full moon's tomorrow. Fully releasing it. Like, even if I would never do what you did, I still can understand and hold space for how you got there and for the fact that it happened. And not hold it against you, right? I can still see your humanity. Going off on a bit of a tangent here. And that it actually kind of seems important because I didn't foresee talking about that at all. I tend to not talk about my personal life, my love life in that sense. But just softening into who it is that you are. And the fact that I went off on that tangent, I feel like a part of this for you has to maybe do with a relationship, what other people are going to think. And a lot of what I talk about and like plan to help people with, and I know I made certain announcements, and trust me, I'm getting to that. There have been some shifts and spirits having me recalibrate for a little bit, but that's coming more than likely this week, but that's coming. They're also draining my energy. I can't remember what I was saying specifically, but it was along the lines of that tangent likely had to do like a lot of what I work with, how I plan to help other people, guide other people, channel, like however they're like, whatever their soul is like calling them to do, their soul gifts, their soul path, right? Like what's going wrong in their life and how they're being guided to shift and restructure. A lot of that can also center around love in the ambiguous sense, but also love in romantic relationships, how we are very quick to write people off, not hold space for people, see the humanity in people, allow for change and growth, and to not care about what other people would have to say about certain situations. A lot of my love readings talk about someone coming back around, because they typically deal with divine union and all of that. But with that comes the understanding that there has to be unconditional love. There has to be forgiveness, true forgiveness, right? Seeing past something. And that being able to extend that level of grace to somebody requires you to really soften, to really let go. Let go of all of the past, all the hurts that are attributed to this within that situation, or things from the past that compounded this situation, right? Maybe in your past there is a long line of people abandoning you, and this person did that, or this, in this situation, this friendship, what have you, or even with yourself, you felt abandoned in a way. And it wouldn't hurt as much if you weren't so carrying the weight of the past. And that's not to shame you or anything like that. We are where we are in our journeys. It's to say that you're now ready to let go of this, but what's holding you on is still your attachment to the story, to the narrative, to the identity, to that feeling. And that can be triggering for some people, but it's the truth of. And it's okay. It's okay that you're like, it's a learning curve. We literally all go through this. No one is immune to this, right? No one is above this. No one is immune to this. So this is not me judging you. But once we rip the Band-Aid off, once we call a spade, then it allows for space for radical acceptance. Okay, this is how I feel. This is what I want. This is the thing that I've been doing, the cycle I've been repeating. Now what, right? It doesn't really matter the past. What matters is moving forward from that. And we can get a little too caught up in trying to move forward. We can get a little too caught up in processing the past. Rumination came out, right? Ruminating on the past. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. And I think that's why I gave the one, abandonment seems specific to someone, but also like love life thing. And I think that's why I even brought up my love life, because I just had to come to terms with the fact that like, it doesn't matter. What has happened doesn't matter, because it doesn't change how I feel. Whatever's happened in the past, whoever has shamed you or what have you, that's made you retreat into yourself, that's made you hide from yourself this much, literally lying to yourself with love, it doesn't actually matter. What matters is that part of you is knocking on the door, banging, let me in, love me, and see how we can transmute this energy into divine beauty, creative, like just beautiful, creative life force energy. Because that's what happens when we integrate our shadow parts, the parts of ourselves that we feel are unlovable. In fact, they are often our greatest sources of power, of love, of the essence of our being. It's just the magnitude of you is so vast that it's hard for the average person. And you right, like we're not above anyone, but like there are people who aren't as spiritually like attuned, right? And that is what I mean by that. Not any sort of superiority or anything of that sort. So just understanding that. I got off on a tangent. We are actually going to wrap this message up here, because I have therapy in like 30 minutes and I wanted to lay down for an hour, but you all needed to hear this. Understanding that you're here to learn, you're here to make mistakes. So are other people. It's going to happen. And that doesn't mean that you can't fail, get back up again, over and over again, right? Obviously, if someone's toxic, if someone isn't treating you correctly, being abusive or narcissistic or anything like that. Also, I do feel like we tend to throw out the narcissist word a little too much. It's a very complex mental issue that should not be taken lightly. However, people can have narcissistic tendencies. Again, I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but I feel like someone needs to know that. And the focus of relationship here, this is very much a self thing, but it feels like for a specific few of you, it's both. It's a little bit relationship. It's like understanding these things within yourself because something is coming up for you. Something is gearing up for you with the release of this, right? Should this be released like it needs to? Should you close out this cycle like you're being guided to? And then, of course, this thing's going to come in and really see if you are closing out this cycle here. Allow yourself to be light and be of the light. Of the light meaning like shining lights on parts of your subconscious and on parts of other people's subconscious, because at the end of the day, we are all human. We are above no one else. We all make mistakes. We're all flawed. We all do horrible things. We've all been in positions in our life where we have been a horrible person. None of us are perfect. And especially within the spiritual community, I've said this before, especially in the spiritual community, you don't get on this path, you don't get this deep into the path at that without being someone who first has gone through an immense amount of trauma. And if you've gone through an immense amount of trauma, it rewires your brain in some way, in some shape or form. You have also been a horrible person. You have also repeated those same patterns in some way, and you broke free of it, right? And so now it's like we don't just shut the door on other people or even parts of ourselves because of that. If I shut out parts of myself because at some point in my life I was a horrible freaking person, either to someone else or myself, there would be nothing left of me here, quite literally, but also like spiritually, like, you know, because no one's perfect. So just understand that you're here to create life. You're here to like create and not create life. I mean, procreate if you want, do what you do, but create as in art, whatever it is that you value, whatever it is that drives you, right? You're here to do that and also be a light to other people. Find beauty in the mundane of life. And just remember that at the end of the day, dude, we're on a floating rock in space. None of this shit is serious. It's really not. It's actually never that deep. Never. And to just remember, to wrap it up here, we had animal spirit cards, but we've pretty much gone through them. And this is why this was kind of taking a bit of a love, like a romantic love sort of thing. I'm not going to run through them all because in essence, trust me, I've covered this throughout the full entirety of like the hour of this channel message. But we have groundhog spirit, hello, mouse, nightingale, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but something beetle. Mouse specifically talks about being careful to pay attention to the fine print, the fine details, the little things, because sometimes without you even realizing it, there are cracks in a foundation. And this actually specifically speaks to that. There are cracks in a foundation. It is obvious when someone isn't happy, but you might be overlooking it because you might be too, like big picture, too bird's eye view, that you're not paying attention, that you're missing intimate things within connections that end up being the downfall of the connection on your end and on their end, right? That's why you don't throw stones. And just being grounded in that, rooted, we know what groundhogs represent. Excuse me, confirmation burp, but the star here is the nightingale. Yes, right now you're on a path that feels like there's nothing but darkness and you're surrounded by your shadows, but there is love and prosperity within that, like embedded in this journey. You just have to continue to push through and understand that darkness is light that has yet to be acknowledged, right? Does that make sense? Like like the darkness is it's unconscious, it's our subconscious, right? As soon as you shed light on it, you're now aware, you're conscious. So darkness isn't just a different form of light, which also speaks to polarity, right? Two sides of the same spectrum, different sides of the same spectrum. Really, you can think that it's completely different, but again, it's on the same spectrum. It just depends on what side you're on. And that's really it. That's really it. This does talk about when you tap into your creative flow. This seems important to mention it, and then we are done here. When you tap into your creative flow, you are allowing spirit to channel through you. You are very much at that point. We are always co-creating with spirit, but that is like a very divine way of co-creating with spirit. And when you do that, you open yourself up to infinite possibilities. And so just remember that whenever you are being guided to create, and whatever it is that you do create. And I'm also being called to tell you to not shame the things that you want to create or being called to create, like anything that you have created, because that is divine essence, that is divine working through you. And you don't get to judge your artwork, your artistry. You don't get to judge that. And also a part of you, it's likely that you're judging an aspect of yourself, of little you. And we don't shame our inner child. So I love you so much. Have a wonderful day. If this resonated with you, please let me know. I will be channeling more messages from Persephone as she comes through and, has me on here chatting, preaching, not actually preaching. I don't think I'm a preacher. Anyway, I'm so tired. Anyway, I love you all so, so much. Seriously though, I would like feedback on this, if at all possible, and I will get to you all about personal readings and me offering that. I will be offering that. I am offering that. In fact, you can still email me for a personal reading, and I will have the details for that in the description. It's just that there are tweaks that I'm being called to make with certain things. Path is going a little differently than I thought, and so that will have to be reflected within how I set up readings. And so that's all. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.